of the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. Meanwhile, Finance Minister new path on uncompleted housing projects as an audit report on Saglemi housing project is this morning. In our first story, the country will lose 18. The economy witnessed significant reduction in action, says, makes the introduction of some indirect tax measures.
9 billion is not to be available. 2022, about 26 billion, and 22 human beings who are supposed to be generating these activities. So it's not just numbers who have been lost, but what they could be doing. In the budget, the banking sector and the communication sector were listed. Ms. Anda here has given his opinion about it. But for the failing banks had to be cleaned up from the system in order to avoid a run on the...
Was 10.4 billion cedis as revenue due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to the expected huge borrowing by government on Director of Bank of Africa, he spoke to us at the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and
like 12% would migrate, and because for governments to increase, this might come in the form of additional to the private sector.
On the 5% financial sector cleanup levy imposed on banks, Mr. Anda expressed displeasure that the banking industry...
It gives the impression that the good banks, our monies have been used to bail out these banks. Receivers that have to be looked at critically, they're transparent.
You heard Managing Director of the Bank of announced a review of existing road tolls to align with current market rates. This has not gone down. Finance Minister Charles Edubwai says this is needed to attract investments into the sector.
I don't think the tolls have sort of market related, so we can attract private sector investment in to cover. Government alone cannot provide the kind of road infrastructure that are market related. I believe we can really attract a lot of private sector investment.
The Ghana Statistical Service has given assurance that the proposed date and budget for the compelled the service to reschedule the exercise to a later date. However, there are fears that the service may be
Three implications of the postponement that we're currently dealing with to come June 2021, and this is what we're currently in discussion with. So we're still working with a budget of the residents, age categories at the regional level and at the district level.
Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnainin. Goldfields Ghana Limited has presented this dividend payment is specifically for the Takwa mine. Executive Vice President and Head of Goldfields Ghana, Alfred Bako, said Goldfields will continue to keep its promise to government despite the challenges facing the housing deficit in the country as soon as possible. This will see the continuation of works in housing. Francis Asensubuachi told journalists after a tour of the facility and other housing projects that an audit report
by the Minister for Works and Housing, Asensubuachi, was intended to abreast himself with ongoing housing completed, but awaiting some basic social infrastructure before it could be occupied.
We have invested close to 200 million. We can complete the project. Over 1,000 housing units. The current housing deficit.
Visited some developed sites by the Tema Development Corporation, where work has been briefing journalists on progress made so far.
3,016 units. I must say that we are just about 20% PD rate, and we hope that by the end of 2022 we would have finished all those apartments. Starting from studio, and as you see, the studio is going for about 49,000.
Report read to you. Now, some residents of Dev Traco Court in Tema say the lack of water supply over a decade is making living there expensive. According to the management, to know how unbearable the situation is. Listen.
One of the recommendations is for the developer to buy a booster pump. That will be conversation. They push back telling you it's capital intensive. So because of the peculiar nature of makes the situation very, very.
That was a rate of 5 cedis 72 pesos against the dollar. The British pound going for 8 cedis 3 pesos and the euro going for 6 cedis 87 pesos. Now on the commodity market, the crude oil lost $37 is selling this morning at $67. Cocoa is trading at $2,521 a ton. Despite
oh, well, thanks for that. Later today.
Be okay. Yeah, but we've got assurances from the World Health Organization and other regulators.
Yes.
And think of it, 40 cases of...
less than 40.
Less than 40, so that's going to assure people that what you're taking is serious.
Some of it is politics.
Yes,
some
that's
of it
true.
is... So what they are doing there could end up causing deaths in other parts of the world.
That is true.
You know, where people have known the fact that some of it is coming for free and all that. If there are people...
Lives are going to be lost.
You know, AstraZeneca to its citizens. FDA, that's their job.
Yeah.
So before people amongst those who have taken every vaccine. So anyway. As in, right now though, I think it's about